All right. Hey, Neil, how we doing?
Hey, Cal. Thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
So here we are, actually, episode 9.
I can't believe we did it. I'll say it every time. Can't believe it.
And I will say it every time. We are doing it, and we continue to do it. And this episode, we're going to do it with Christian Shalay. Etian, how you doing?
Living the dream, kids. Happy to be here. Two dudes and killer tunes. Yeah,
I love
Let's go.
One of the best guys ever.
Guys. So glad to be here.
Right. So I've actually posted that you are probably one of our earliest and maybe biggest supporters.
For sure.
And
big Cal fan, big Neil fan. Absolutely.
And you were actually the one that pointed out the little visitor in episode 1, which is our dog Phoebe that got her nose in there.
Hard to miss. I saw it immediately. But I'm a dog lover, so.
But I also believe he sent that, Neil. He's like, "Hey, you got to clean it up. You got someone on, someone in the screen." And I look, and all you see is her little nose. But that was also within like 2.5 hours of actually posting.
Yeah.
So when we talk about tens of listeners, he's one of them. So first of all, we've known each other for years.
Yes.
But again, Christian Shalay. So we want to start. Etian, what the heck is that?
I was going to start off this podcast by trying to ask you, how do you get Cal Kalashevsky? So we're going to get to you in a second.
Okay.
But my given name is Christian, and which was my father's name. And as you guys both know, my parents are both from Ukraine. And when my dad was growing up, we say Christian in Ukrainian, we say Christian. And my dad's little sister couldn't say Christian, she said Etian. Okay. So my dad's name was Etian, and he gave me the name Etian, and then you Americans just butchered the shit out of it, and it became Etian and all kinds of different ways to say the name. So it was my dad's nickname growing up. It's a Ukrainian nickname, and so that's how I got it.
So that Etian.
Yes, sir.
Etian.
Somehow the Americans couldn't get the Tian, they got the Etian, and that's how it became.
You dumb Americans. Hey, it's all right. Whatever, Ukrainian.
Well,
dark
nerd.
Yeah, nerd.
But it's funny that you say that because I got my name really the same way. My dad growing up, his nickname was Cal, the shortened version of our last name, Kalashevsky.
Yeah, right.
And then when I was born, he said that they're going to call him Cal anyway, so he gave me the nickname as my given name.
I mean, that's, first of all, it's brilliant, right?
I agree.
But second of all, like when we first met in college and we were playing soccer, I was like, clearly his name is like John Kalashevsky, and we just call him Cal.
Right.
And then I found out the real name is Cal Kalashevsky, and I was like, man, I'm going to have to ask him about this.
Etian, same thing when I met Cal. He's like, why is it Cal Kalashevsky? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they just named him.
Yeah.
They just named
Love it.
Kalashevsky.
Well, and now people have a hard time with the last name, so it's a pretty unique name, so it's just Cal.
Yeah.
And one guy at work I'll never forget, we're talking about my name, and he's like Cher. He's just Cal. It's one name. Yeah. We don't even try the last one.
Yeah.
He's like Cher.
Cher's cool.
She's
not better than Sting.
Yeah, way better than fucking Sting.
Oh, that's so great.
So anyway, yeah, we met at UAD.
Yeah.
You're actually a few years older than me. I came in as a freshman, and I think you were actually in your 4th year.
Senior.
And
5th year, actually, but yeah.
Okay, 5th year.
Yeah.
And both played soccer.
Yes, sir.
So we met during preseason.
Yep.
And we actually both lived in Reno Hall at UAD.
Which is now condemned.
Yep. And I was in the basement with Jeff, Pickles, and Tim. And then you were upstairs.
It was 1 floor above you with Tree.
That's right.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. And good old Tree. He was great people.
Awesome, dude.
But so that's where we met.
Yeah.
And had a lot of good times, especially in Reno Hall, which you said is condemned, and I'm pretty sure we definitely helped with that.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. It's so gross.
But so we were like instant friends day one.
Yeah.
One of the things we really connected on was music.
Yeah.
For sure. So, this always is the question, what is it about music and then live music for you, that kind of keeps you going back and everything else?
Well, man, I love that you asked that question to all the guests, right? Because that's why we're here. That's what the common love that we have. And the two dudes and killer tunes actually made me stop and think, how am I going to really answer this question? Because, we could spend hours on this. But the truth of the matter is, for me, live music it's about community and it's about artistic expression. And I mentioned my folks are from Ukraine, and when I grew up in the Ukrainian community here in Detroit, having a sense of community was just so important, right? Having inclusion. And so I grew up in this Ukrainian community and love having a community, right? And that's live music, man. It's 5,000 people, it's 1,000 people, it's 25,000 people, all with just so stoked to see great music, right?
Unreal.
Yeah, and so it's the community aspect, and it's just like the artistic expression, the three of us playing soccer. I mean, the great thing about playing soccer, we were able to express ourselves on the field, right? In Neil's case, he goes chops and hacks players up, and and me, I dribble like a fairy.
Honestly, like, we were just talking about that. Me and Denny, who is Cal's father-in-law, or not Cal's, Paul's father-in-law. We were just talking about that today. Like what we're doing, like golfing. It's like an expression. It's something that you do. Every shot is an expression in golf, and then every song, every note in music is the same thing. It's
totally
super, not weird, but awesome to think about.
It's what makes all of us unique, right?
I agree.
And we're all unique players on the field, right? And amazing goalkeeper, and
in that regard, it's also unique to you. You're part of this collective. Right. You're part of a team where you have your own unique take on it, and you connect with different people, different ways, at different times during that same show.
Why we're doing a podcast.
Absolutely. Which is you were without a doubt one of the first people. I say this to all the. You must say this to all the guests, but I do. You're definitely, because we've connected on that level, and I'll never forget. Me and Neil's talked about this. We've been kicking around some sort of idea like this for 20 years, and finally doing it. So then I put a post out there on LinkedIn, coming soon, some big announcement. And I wake up, I talked to my wife and my kids. I said I have this idea, and they actually, all of them were like super supportive and said, that's actually a really good idea. So I was like, send, and I hit this post, right? And, I'm telling my wife about it in the morning. I look down at 6 a.m. and I get this text from Etian. I was like, bro, what the fuck is going on? And I told Emily what I did. She's like, well, is your work going to think you're leaving? So I had to follow up with another post. Like, I'm not leaving. This is like this side gig, But anyway, so like I said, 6 a.m. text from, and so I got an hour drive into work, so I just call them. Yeah. And we talked about it for like the entire drive in. And we were like, all right, well, we're at work now. So, but, I kicked it off of you, and I don't even know if I'd talked to Neil about it yet. And
no, you didn't, but you texted me, like, I think
That's right. I said, we talked. I talked to Etian, and you're like, you know what? That's actually a really good idea, So I'm like, I had all these people telling me that, so here we are. And I'm like, well, I want Etian. And that gets me to the first thing I want to talk about, because, 1994, it was February, we're at UAD, we're still in Reno basement. I'll never forget, you walk in, and my birthday's late February, and it's just early February, whatever, and you're like, dude, I got you a ticket to go see Tool.
Yep.
For your birthday. Yeah. And it was at the State Theater, which is the Fillmore now. Yeah. Which, I mean, Tool I love, right? Yeah. It's one of those bands like
Maynard.
Yeah,
Maynard. The best, man.
And just that bass and just the vocal, I love it.
Great music.
But I saw them on the second stage the year before at Lollapalooza.
Okay.
In the summer, and then you got me. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I'm like, when is it? And you're like, oh, it's like next week. It's like the day before my birthday or something. And I'm like, all right, cool. So when are we going to go? What's going on? What was your answer?
Oh, I got one ticket, Cal. It's for you.
So this is why I refer to this as Toolgate, right?
Yes, Toolgate.
It's always been the joke over the years. I'm like, who the fuck buys a ticket for someone to go to a concert?
Because Etian is one of the best guys ever.
Well, absolutely. Well, one, I was super grateful, but it took me like 20 years to finally piece it together that he got that ticket for himself to go by himself. Yeah. And instead gave it to me to go by myself.
Yeah, totally. It was.
I never even tried to get another ticket though either. It wasn't like, oh, fuck it, buy a ticket.
I think it was sold down. It wasn't like it is today. You just go on the internet and scalp them. But I remember getting one ticket for the show, and then we were just in Reno getting hammered one night, and you said your birthday was around the corner. I was like, I'm going to give him the ticket to Tool, man, and I'm so stoked you went.
Well, it was the first concert I ever went to by myself.
Okay.
And, well, actually, I was supposed to meet Robbie Ludwig. And
Robbie Ludwig. Oh, man.
And again, it's 94, so how I ever knew that he was supposed to be at this concert, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I probably talked to Paul talked to Robbie. He's like, oh, yeah, Robbie's going to that.
Yeah.
So somehow got his number. I'm like, hey, I'm going by myself. Let's meet right out front, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm out there, 8 o'clock. No, Robbie. Well, I'm like, well, so I go in, and, I mean, back then, I would do whatever I could. I weaseled up. I mean, I was like front row center.
Yeah.
You know, probably 2 or 3 people back, but right there. I mean,
Yeah, that's awesome.
About halfway through, I look over.
There's Robbie.
There's Robbie! Where's Robbie?
That's
How
awesome.
were you? He's like, man, I just got here. I blew out a tire, you know, but of course there's no technology.
Yeah.
So it's like
Good
he had
old
no way
days,
to let
man.
me know, but hey, I got to go in and catch the show. So that was what happened. Like I said, it took years, and I always used to give you hell about it, but really it was just a super cool thing that you did for me, which I appreciate it. It was a cool show.
Hell yeah.
And you know what? You got to do what you got to do. Sometimes you go alone. You ever go to a show alone?
All the time, dude. All the time.
What was like the biggest one? Like,
I just go to so much live music, dude. And I know one of the questions is about, you know, the farthest you've traveled. You know, I work a job where I travel every week, right? So I'm all around the country every single week. And I'm fortunate to be able to go to some big venues and to some small venues and small and big towns. And, you know, I go all the time, man. I enjoy it. I find I like to be with myself, man. I mean, I kind of like me, dude, you know. I'm not a pain in my ass, and I don't annoy myself where other people do, and being by myself, I love it.
No, there's something to be said about that.
Seriously, man. Some people can't be alone. I prefer to be alone, man.
But there's something to be said about that. Like, you can go to the show and then just experience the show.
Love it.
You have nothing else. You don't
love
have,
it.
you know,
Love it.
whether it's
Love
this
it.
person, that person.
But not that I don't love to go with other people.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping we get to go see some shows this summer, and that band you had on episode 4 or 5, I think
Black Note Graffiti.
Yeah, and want to go see them in
Chelsea.
Ann Arbor.
Actually, Ann Arbor they just played.
Okay.
On the 10th, but they're playing Chelsea.
I would love to go see them in Chelsea.
They're playing
Great
in
town.
Chelsea.
Black Note Graffiti.
Yeah.
We're promoting you, bro.
Yeah.
I think it's we like Black Note Graffiti, and they just did their North by Northeast last Friday.
Yeah,
nice.
You put some stuff on Instagram where they did.
So, but they're doing Chelsea. I think it's July 14th. We should totally hook up and go.
Yeah.
It's Thursday night. They do like Thursday night music downtown.
Good reason to go to Chelsea, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we talked about technology, and that reminded me of the one show we've talked about numerous times.
Yeah.
But it was the Horde Fest.
Yes.
And that was the first time you ever met Neil?
I think it was the first time I met. Well, we didn't meet. He was passed out. But we met on the rail, and and Neil was passed out.
Good old rail.
It was like 2:00 in the afternoon. Neil did a good job of imbibing, and it was the first time I met Neil, and that was a great festival, dude. Pine Knob, fantastic venue.
I can't believe how good Pine Knob is.
Yeah, forget it.
When
dude.
you walk in Pine Knob, how awesome is it?
It is, and you know it's funny. I'm going all around here. I'm not staying to the script, but we love Pine Knob, right, dude? One of the best venues in the world. But
I agree.
But there's a miniature Pine Knob that is so overlooked. It used to be called Freedom Hill.
Yeah.
It's now called Michigan Lottery.
Amphitheater.
Dude,
that is a good venue as well.
It's so great. I saw Jane's Addiction there 4 years ago, and it's smaller. It's half the size, so it's a little bit more intimate. Right. And you guys, I don't know if you've ever been there, but
I have.
You got to go see a show there. It's awesome.
Young the Giant were just there last Friday
with Milky Chance.
With Milky Chance. I would have loved to see Young the Giant. One of my bands I want to see.
Yeah.
But yes, they were at Michigan Live.
I call it Freedom Hill still because I'm an old.
That's fine.
I'm the OG.
I've always referred to it as Freedom Hill. I've never actually seen a show there.
And it's the weirdest thing. It's on 16 Mile and Shaner in Sterling Heights. Like it's like nowhere you'd think you'd find this.
So
awesome
I would take like
venue.
59, like 60 miles, and I'd probably.
That's how you would get there, right? And it's a great spot, and it's half the size. I like the intimacy of it.
Now, it's even smaller than Meadowbrook, right?
I think it is. And Meadowbrook's a great one, too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's another...
Meadowbrook is awesome.
That's a great one. But, yeah, I just... anyway, I'm jumping around.
No, that's
sorry
fine.
About that, yeah.
No, I like that you brought up.
We jump around all the time too. We're not the most scripted. Like we are the garage band of podcasts.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
But no, actually, Hosier or whatever is playing.
Hosier?
Yeah, Hosier is playing Freedom Hill.
Okay.
And I really like. Actually, our whole family likes him a lot. And we looked in the tickets; it was like already sold out. Immediately, and they're like $200, like aftermarket, like insane for him. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I'm going to see Queens at Freedom Hill.
Oh yeah, Queens of Stone Age.
$250.
Okay.
For like 10th row center. I don't know, man.
You can't argue that.
I don't have kids, dude. I don't have expenses. I love live music. I'll spend money on that experience any day of the week.
Really?
Yeah.
That's but
yeah,
you're going to see them.
I'm going to see Queens. Yeah,
like you said, I would pay as well.
Yeah,
God,
especially a great band like that.
Mm-hmm. I think they're a really good band,
dude. Josh Homme is one of the most talented guitar players and songwriters in the world.
I agree.
He's amazing.
And at some point, Mark Lanigan was in that band.
Yeah,
from the
early on.
Yeah.
Early on. And he's rotated, Josh has rotated the players in and out for the past 20, 25 years. But he's been the heart and soul of that band, and he's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had Grohl on drums. I mean, the guy's gifted.
Unreal. All right.
So, yeah, that's, like you said, you'll pay that. But you know what? I have kids. I have this and that. But,
You do.
No, but a lot of people have, whatever it is that they like to do. I like to go to concerts. I don't necessarily like to go golfing.
Yeah.
I don't like to do this. I don't do that. But concerts, that's like the non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's something, I want to go.
Same.
And, I mean, I'm going to Pearl Jam.
Awesome.
So I brought it up, I think, last show too. But, yeah, I'm going to Noblesville, Indiana.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I haven't seen them in like 20 years. Super excited about that.
That's great.
So you were actually, for me, a pretty integral part of my music journey, I'll say, right? A lot of me was rap early on.
Yeah.
During my middle school, and then in high school you had the hair metal that went into the alternative and grunge.
Yeah.
And then from there, there was Wilco. That was a big one for you, right?
Yeah.
But I remember in college, the one year, Green Day.
Yeah.
You're acting like, hey, have you heard this band? It was Dookie, and it was the first time I ever heard him.
Dookie.
Great band.
Great band. It's another one where I'm not like a huge fan. I've never seen them. And I kind of wish I went. They were just here like last year or the summer before with Weezer.
Okay.
And someone else. But I'm like, that would have been a good show. But it's at Comerica. I'm not a fan of Comerica.
I don't like the big venues, man.
Yeah.
I don't like the big venues. But this is the mid '90s, right? That we're all in college together.
Yeah. Well, the other one, just real quick before. You actually, I'll never forget. I was sitting in Reno basement, midday. Probably just got done through a grueling, schedule of classes and stuff. Just taking it easy before I got studying. But you walked in and you said, "Dude, Kurt Cobain's dead."
Ah. Yeah.
It was April of '94. It was 1 or 2 weeks before we actually left school for the year. That was my freshman year.
Yeah.
And you it was probably rightful you delivered that news. You
have a good memory, Cal. I remember that. I remember that day. I remember hearing. I was driving a Ford Probe. Was my car at that time.
Ooh, and Probes are sweet, dude.
And he's so sweit. And I remember it was raining. And
it was the Mustang's cheaper cousin.
Yeah, it was. It for sure was. Couldn't afford the Mustang, but I'll never remember the news. Right, I remember it was raining outside, man, and it was just so sad, and I couldn't wait to. Dude, this is before before cell phones, man.
Way before cell phones.
We didn't communicate.
No,
right?
The only person that had a cell phone back then was Zach Morris.
Yeah, Saved by the Bell. And I just remember I was like, I remember driving to school and then coming downstairs to hang out with you guys, and we talked about it. It was a sad day, man.
It was
really, really sad.
Did you ever get to see Nirvana?
This is so crazy. I was watching episode 6, I believe, was with Paul Kalashevsky.
Episode
3. That was really early on. Okay. So Paul and I were at the same show.
Oh, really?
At State Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And I had no idea Paul was there. But in any event,
funny.
That was the one time that I saw Nirvana, and it was the In Utero tour, and it was amazing. I mean, That is a band.
What venue was that at?
It was at the State Fairgrounds off of 8 Mile and Woodward, which is now a huge Amazon campus.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
like knocked it down. It used to be the old site of the State Fair.
Right, right. So saw him there. Probably one of the best shows I ever saw. And I'll never forget, I was on the side of the stage and with my girlfriend at the time. And I'll never forget the last song played, and Kurt was in pain, man. I mean, he had stomach problems, right? And I'll just never forget, he threw his guitar off and he stormed backstage while, Kurt and Noblesic and Grohl were still playing a song, and it was just so moving, right? That guy, Kurt Cobain, amazing, right? I mean, he's a legend. Mm-hmm. And seeing that show and then just seeing him in pain, it just resonated with me, and it really. It was the 90s, man. All of us were in pain, right? Like
when he passed, you thought about that. You're like, oh my gosh,
for sure.
Probably.
Man. The thing that I thought about was the relief for him because he was in so much pain, and we don't take our lives unless we were in pain. And he was in pain, dude. And
they see no other way out of it.
No other way out.
If anyone's ever feeling that way, reach out to someone.
Sure.
Call that number or whatever. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And you saw him. I mean, that was like 6 months before
he died.
Yeah. I mean, that was like October.
It was in the fall.
Something.
Yep. It was in the fall.
Because it was soccer season.
Yep.
So I will never forget this. We had a road trip to Buffalo.
Okay.
I had rolled my ankle really bad against Evansville. And actually sat out against Eastern, a couple other games. It was at the end of the year. It was late October. And the coach was like, well, we might leave you home to rest the ankle.
Yeah.
And they left Tim home.
Timmy Blackwell.
Who isn't a huge music fan at all.
No.
So they leave Tim home. They decide at the last minute, you know what, you're going to go with us. Worst part of the story is they actually play me.
Oh, my God.
But that was that weekend of that show. I was like, I had it all set up. I was going to miss the road trip. I was going to go to the show on my bum ankle.
Yeah.
But you know who got to do all that?
Who?
Tim Blackwell. He was at that show.
What a waste. I mean, just kidding, Tim.
Just kidding. He definitely wasn't a Nirvana fan like I was. No. So, some of the other shows we've been to, you like you said, you've lived all over the place. So I'm all over the place here with you. But one, you used to live in Chicago.
I did,
and that was it was still around the time I think I was still in college.
Late 90s.
Yeah, so it was just out of college
to 2000.
Okay, so I just graduated, and it was me and Keith.
Yeah,
and I remember we went to Chicago like once every month for like 12 straight months.
Yeah.
And then we went. I remember you took us to some blues bar. You and Sheila.
Yeah, Sheila and I
had that awesome. Yeah. Was it in Lincoln Park?
No, that was actually in. It was Lakeview, just north of Lincoln Park.
Okay.
Yeah, with cement shoes upstairs.
Yep, but that was that sweet
really cool spot. Yeah, really cool spot. We had a really cool brownstone in Chicago. Good part of Chicago. But the bar you're referencing is the Kingston Mines.
Okay.
And Kingston Mines was a place we all go to and hang out till 4 o'clock in the morning, just drinking beer and watching really great music.
Yeah,
man, it was an awesome venue.
Blues bar.
I don't even know if it's still open or not, but next time in Chicago, I'm gonna have to look it up because a lot of great memories there.
Where is it called?
Kingston Mines.
Kingston Mines.
As in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah, and it was just a total blues bar. I mean, there was nothing special when you walked in.
2 stages, nothing special. 2 stages, 2 big rooms, 2 stages. You had reggae in one room, you had blues in another room.
You had the upstairs. It was almost, but it wasn't like a huge area, but you could go up there and look down on the one stage.
Well, okay. Mm-hmm. You know what? I frequented so many bars in that era that it's all running together.
Well, I even remember that we would go so frequently that it just got to the point where like we would make plans to just come.
Yeah.
And then the one time I'm like, hey, Etian, me and Keith we're going to be flying in Friday and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, I'm going to be out of town.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But him being the good friend he is, he's like, dude, I'll just FedEx you my keys. So he FedExed the keys earlier in the week. He had the keys. Me and Keith jumped the flight. We stayed at that place, which is super.
Yeah.
Just walked the street.
I think Etian does that a lot for a lot of people. I mean, one of the best dudes ever.
Thanks,
absolutely.
It's like
absolutely.
Give me my keys.
Did so many people come and go out of your life? I mean, I met you 30-some years ago. You're still here.
You're one of them.
Appreciate you guys, man.
And we don't see each other a lot. I mean, you've been all over. You actually live back in Michigan. I think I saw you before more when you lived outside of the state. Probably, here you are. So let's enjoy it while you're fucking here on the show.
For sure.
But the other place that I remember that you lived was Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Which, is a really cool city. That doesn't get enough credit.
It doesn't, man.
It's got a really nice downtown. It's I don't even remember where you live, but all I remember was I was working in that area.
Yes, you were a little further north.
I was in Jackson Center, Ohio, but I stayed in Sydney.
Yeah, you were in Sydney.
Yep.
Oh, Sydney.
Yeah.
Right, which was probably about
60 miles north or more. It was a good hour north.
It was about an hour. Hour give or take.
Yeah.
But I remember getting in touch with you or whatever again, probably by phone.
By phone. Yeah.
And I was in there, and you were like, "Hey, Ben Harper's playing the Taft Theater in Cincinnati. You should come down."
Great
and I'm
venue.
like, "Well, I'll get on." Actually, I could get online at that point and buy a ticket. So I got online, bought a ticket, and then I, of course, cut out of work early, hurried up, drove down to Cincinnati. And I met you at your house. I think we just walked to like a little local
R.P. McMurphy's.
Yes, and we sat outside.
Little Irish pub right behind mine and Sheila's house.
We're just gonna have a quick
Irish
beer.
pub.
We're just gonna have quick beer, Neil, and then we're gonna head over to this other bar to catch up with Sheila and some other people.
Yeah.
That turned into me and Etian sitting at, what was it called?
R.P. McMurphy's, which is
having about 7 years.
Oh, man.
And Sheila calling Etian at some point, "Are you ever coming?"
How was the experience at the R.P. Murphy's?
It was amazing. I mean, R.P. McMurphy's is this amazing Irish pub that was in my backyard, and it just sucks you in, Neil. You get there, and you're like, one drink, and we'll get out. Nah, it's just one of those great places in Cincinnati that a lot of people go to, and it's grown over the years. It's just one of those just great, big, humongous house. It's a house, dude. It's just something that used to be a house, right? They turned it into a bar. It's got a great outside patio, and we got sucked in. We were supposed to meet Sheila, and next thing I know, I'm practically blotto, 3 hours in, and she's like, "Are we going to the show?" I'm like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, okay, we're on our way. We're on our way," and
Well, the best part was we showed up out front, right? And then Sheila, and she's visibly upset. But still puts on a good face.
She's amazing.
I know.
She's so great.
More than once we were in this position. But I walk up with each, and I kind of just soften the blow because that was the first time I actually saw her. So like, how's it going? And then I'm like, all right, we better go in. He's going to be on stage soon.
Right.
So we go in.
We're so late.
Etian's completely hammered. He's with Sheila and the other people. I walk in. I got my solo ticket, so I don't even have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I walked all the way down, and I was like 4th row right in the center.
I couldn't believe you got those great tickets.
Because I bought a single ticket. There was like young kids right next to me with their parents that caught a guitar pick. That's how close they were.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The other thing on that was, I bought my tickets like months before because we were talking about it, and I think there were 4 of us. I forget who the other folks were, but I remember we were like probably 25 rows up, and dude, you just get single ticket, and you're freaking 3rd row. I'm like, come on, dude.
That was awesome.
Great show, though, man. He's amazing, dude. He's unbelievable.
Which I know I asked you about going, but he's coming to Royal Oak in October, so I'm actually going with Ryan Maxey.
Nice.
Our episode
4
guest, who we hadn't seen in years either, so that's super exciting.
Yeah.
And actually, Ben Harper was on that bill when we went to Hornfest.
Oh, was he on Horde?
It was Ben Harper, Blues Traveler, and Bare Naked Lady. And there was someone else before Ben Harper.
That's right. I forgot that Ben Harper was on that ticket. Oh, my God.
And then there was another ticket. It was just a concert, though. It wasn't like a festival or anything, but it was Dave Matthews was the headliner.
Okay.
And Ben Harper was the first opener, and then the second opener was Freddie Jones Band.
Freddie Jones Band. Wow.
Which, I remember like one album by them. But it was sweet, and they're a great live band. They're a jam band.
Dude, 90s produced some great music, man. I mean, amazing music.
And this is where I was, like, when I mentioned Wilco earlier, like, 90s also produced a lot of shit.
It did.
You know,
it did.
like,
Vanilla Ice.
A lot of shit.
But I liked Vanilla
I'm
Ice.
talking like mid-90s, right? And you started getting into the Limp Bizkits. And,
yeah.
You know, like more of the, like, rock rap mix.
Rock rap mix,
but then you kind of went this route. And then you mentioned this last episode, I think. Like with the Wilcos and some of the other bands.
Yep.
And the one that, you know, we definitely have to talk about, and we did talk about in last episode. I'm sorry, I wanted to save it for you, but is the Tragically Hip.
Yeah.
That was one of the ones where you totally turned me on to them.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll say it right now. They're too good.
They are. They're a great band, man.
Too good. I know, Etian, I know you love them.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Detroit, being right across the river from Canada, right, we have access to Canadian culture. And as most people know, and maybe some don't, is the Hip is a Canadian band. They're known as the Rolling Stones of Canada. Mm-hmm. And
royalty. True royalty.
True royalty. And when we got to texting about your podcast and we were talking about the Hip a little bit, I went and watched. There's a 2016 documentary on their final tour when Gord was diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. It's called A Long Time Running. For all you Hip fans out there, if you haven't seen it, it's tremendous.
Or non-Hip fans.
Or non-Hip fans, for sure.
Talking about them, to check them out.
For sure. Great band. The lead singer, Gord died. Gord died back in 2016, but they did a final tour to support him. And that documentary is amazing. But that band is it's the people just have not heard of them, right? They never moved to the States. Like I remember when I first moved to Dallas in 2008, and the Hip were playing the House of Blues in Dallas. But the House of Blues in Dallas is a very small venue, maybe 1,000 people.
Wow.
And it wasn't jam-packed, you know what I mean? And Gord was such a showman, and he came into, you know, he'd come down to Dallas. Nobody knows who they are. We're Detroit, anywhere north. You know, they're playing hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, that's what we talked about. I mean, we saw them at Pine Knob.
Yeah.
I mean, there was Canadian flags.
Canadian flags everywhere. Absolutely.
We saw them twice, and the other time I was with you also. But it was like a Fillmore.
Did we see them at like State Theater or something? Yeah,
which was super special to see them there.
Yeah, that was really special. Yeah,
because they were
no. We saw them at Cobo when they played like the 4-hour show.
I never saw them in Cobo. It was one of the other ones in downtown.
I think you're wrong, Cal.
I've never been to Cobo for a show, and by the looks of things, I never will.
Well, your memory's better than mine, so maybe I'm wrong on that one. But nonetheless, we digress. Great band, man, and man.
But in Dallas, so like you go and it's like 1,000 people. I mean, but did you get a chance to like even meet him or something?
So, dude, no, I think it's just me. But he came in and he was. They were playing their song called "Music at Work," and there's one part where he says "Music at Work, Music at Work." He just keeps on going "Music at Work," and like he gets into the crowd, right? And there's maybe 800 of us on the floor here, and he gets right in, and everyone's "Music at Work." Then he gives it to somebody, "Music at Work," and then he gives and I got to sing "Music at Work" with Gord. Yeah,
dude, that's awesome.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah, love the Hip, dude.
And we mentioned him last episode, and. He passed.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, his name was Gord, so I go back, I look it up.
Yeah.
But the actually part that blew me away the most of anything is that there was 2 guys in the band named Gord.
Yeah, Gord Sinclair, Gord Sinclair and Gord Downey. Yeah, right. yeah. And then there were 2 Robbies in the band too.
It was very popular name in Canada.
Obviously, it's like John in America. Yeah.
But no, that was one I'll never forget seeing them.
Yeah, the Hip, great band.
One of the best.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely,
for sure,
100%. So, what was your very first concert? I didn't ask you that. Do you remember what that was?
Never forget it, man. You know, so growing up Ukrainian in Detroit, I went to Ukrainian school, Immaculate Conception, Hamtramck, and
Immaculate Conception.
You know
heard it here first.
Class CD.
The only time you ever heard of them was like in the scores.
You never heard of them.
No, you saw them in the scores. And
all the way at the bottom.
Soccer lost 5-0 to, you know.
Actually, we were number 2 in Class CD my senior year. So, so there was a guy that was 10 years older than me in my school. His name was Walter Palmerchuk. And his stage name was Wally Palmer. And if you don't know who Wally Palmer is, Wally Palmer was the lead singer of the Romantics.
Oh, really?
And I'll never forget, the Romantics were playing Pine Knob, and I asked my dad if he would take me to go see the Romantics. And the only reason he took me to a rock and roll concert, because, you know, my dad, my mom being conservative from the old country, you know, rock and roll's evil. The only reason why I got to go to that concert, my dad took me, was because Wally Palmer, who was 10 years older, was a Ukrainian guy from the area. He was the lead singer of the Romantics, really? So that's why that was my first show with my dad. Yeah,
that's awesome.
So that is awesome.
87.
87.
Yep.
Did your dad enjoy the show?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, my dad enjoys anywhere we can have a beer. So he had a great time.
And how old were you then at the time? Do you remember?
I was 15 because I couldn't drive yet. And he did not want me to go with any of the older kids in high school. So my dad drove me out to Pine Knob. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Great
that's
memory.
Great memory.
Yeah,
great experience.
Yep.
You know, especially knowing your dad ain't with us anymore and everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you just said that because your dad didn't trust, right? I went to my first concert at 15, but I went with Jason Hebert and Jason Vossler, and Jason Hebert's mom drove us.
Yeah.
We were all 15. She drove us to the Palace to see Aerosmith and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts opening up. But back then, they actually had a parents' quiet room. So she didn't even buy a ticket or anything.
Oh, no kidding.
So she
packed him in a room.
Drove us there.
Oh.
We went in with our tickets, went to our seats, and then they packed her into a room.
That's interesting.
With some other parents who didn't want to go to the concert, but they drove her.
That makes sense. All right.
Yeah. And, you know, which is, I would hope they're still doing stuff like that. But you know what? It was amazing because, you know, me and my two buddies were 15. We're in the seats by ourselves. Yeah. So it's like the greatest thing ever. And but again, meet me here right after.
You know it.
That was one thing that back then there was always that meeting spot. Whether it was when we show up or when we're leaving, a meet here.
Yep.
And Pine Knob was always the rail.
Always the rail. Always the rail.
Still is to this day.
Still is to this day. You skipped one show.
Which one?
We didn't talk about Rage.
We did go to Rage. Okay, yeah.
So it peaked. Yeah.
Tell us about Rage.
I will.
So you know who else asked me about Rage?
Who?
DMC.
He did?
He did ask me if I saw him last time here. Unfortunately, Zach broke his ankle, so they canceled the show.
Okay.
But after we talk about this, there's a question if I ever would have went to that Rage show anyway.
Well, it pains me to hear you say you didn't like that show.
So,
to me, the energy of that show, dude, was amazing.
Scene, remember? Do you remember?
It was at the Palace. It was at the Palace. Not my favorite venue.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and we were kind of far away.
No,
we weren't.
No, we were actually main floor.
Okay. But we weren't. I don't think we were close, were we? Right, and that was kind of part of the bad experience
but the main
for you.
Floor was bad.
Well, and it was a huge main floor at the Palace. It
was the whole basketball or hockey floor.
Right,
the entire thing was main floor.
Right.
No, at that point, I was already almost like old guy. I didn't want to be in the pit, and getting crushed way up front for that show.
Fair enough, but.
I was already at the point where my favorite seats are right kind of side of stage.
Oh, yeah?
Lower bowl.
Okay.
First few rows.
Okay.
Just because you're closer. Unless it's seats on the main floor. But I'm all game.
Yeah,
But back then it was just, Rage was a crazy ass band live, dude.
And
it would just be like.
That's why I loved it.
Feet everywhere.
It was the energy coming out of that show was. Oh, my God, it was amazing.
Of course they played well. I mean, I do like their songs. Yeah. But the one thing I remember them playing was like an hour and 20 minutes. It just didn't hit. It just didn't hit. I remember and I'd seen them before. I'd seen them before and I loved it.
You know what, man? I grew up loving punk rock, and what Rage does is fuse punk and all kinds of different genres.
See, I liked it better when Tom Morello went with Cornell and did Audio Slave.
I totally get it. But I
won't turn Rage off the radio though either.
Rage is amazing, and it's so funny because I remember floating out of that show. For me, that was an experience. That's live music for me, man.
Etian, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite punk rock band? Sex Pistols.
I mean,
fucking
that's a whole episode.
Clash. Yeah,
that's a whole episode.
That's a whole episode.
I look at Clash, and then everybody downs on the Clash. You're like,
no way,
fuck
man.
off, Clash. Clash is awesome.
Clash is amazing. I mean,
do you have like a favorite?
I loved all of them, dude. I just loved so many, especially in the 80s. Like, Black Flag was just so much fun.
Which was Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins, absolutely. Fugazi is hands down one of my favorite bands in the world.
See? I remember you turned around to his Fugazi.
I've never heard of it. I know who Fugazi is.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably my favorite band coming out of that era. And then today, you still have pretty good punk bands. There's a band out of Dallas. It's based in New York now. And of course, I'm gonna my memory's gonna fail me. And I had mentioned to you before.
Is that the
Parquet Courts?
Is that the one you're thinking?
Yep. And amazing punk band. In this day and age.
See, I'd never heard of them, and to be honest, I haven't even had a chance to check
listen
them out yet.
There's so much content to consume in this day and age.
So it's tough, man. So that's a quick question. Do you like the way the content's served up, or are you kind of more nostalgic, or are you kind of good with both of it?
I like the ease of the technology, the ease of things that we get, whether it's having your food delivered or listening to a podcast. I love the ease of technology. I love that you can put in a pair of AirPods and it sounds amazing, right? Mm-hmm. So I do like that part of technology. But yeah, I'm still old school, man. I listen to vinyl at home, man. I still love listening to records. That sound of a record, forget it, man. Still love it.
For me, it is. I like the ease of, like, if I hear a song on the radio, because I still listen to the radio.
Yeah.
1071 local in Ann
Arbor. Oh yeah, so you're talking FM. I'm thinking Sirius XM, but you're talking FM.
No, I'm still talking FM radio. But some of those stations you'll catch some of these songs. So I'll just do a quick download from Spotify. But the part I miss is when you would hear that song, but then go to the store and like you make that decision, and it's a decision because you don't have a ton of money.
That's right.
And it's like, did I like that song enough to buy this CD?
That's right.
And then that to me is like how you grew your music knowledge and your likes.
Funny thing is,
molded your music taste.
When you were to do that, you're like, oh, there's like 3 songs that are good. Why would I buy the album?
Yeah.
Guess what? There's like 4 or 5 or 6 songs that are absolutely better than the
100%. Because you hear the 1 or 2 on the radio, but the other 8 songs, and you're like, oh my God, this is a song I really love. And then you go see them in concert, and then you're like, that is the killer tune. Yeah. That's the part of this show, though.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me,
Cal.
and I've mentioned this song specifically numerous episodes, but Drowned by the Smashing Pumpkins, to me, that song is like one of my favorite songs
Moves me
ever.
to this day.
But they don't play it every single time, so when you see it, it's just it's such a special thing.
Yeah.
It's that killer tune.
For sure.
And,
we saw it live.
We did last night. Kemba Live. Have you ever been there? Columbus?
I haven't been there for a show, but I was there for another event. I forget what I was down there for, but I was like, Columbus is a great town.
Columbus is awesome.
Yeah, Columbus is a great town. And I haven't seen a show there, but I hear you guys were talking about it on the podcast. I'd love to go see a show down there, but no, I haven't been to an actual show, but I've been there.
I would recommend it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard.
Fuck Ohio State. But
I agree.
But Columbus is a cool-ass town.
I agree.
But if you like Ohio State and are a fan of our show, then of course you're more than welcome.
I guess you can be. I guess you can be a fan too.
We forgive you.
Go fucking blue.
But no, and that's the cool thing is it's like a 5,000 seat general admission outdoor place.
Yeah.
And then in the winter,
and it's right in the city, right?
It's right in the city.
So it's kind of cool. Yeah.
Dude, we walked from our hotel to Boston's Pizza.
Yeah.
We got some pizza, watched the Champions League final,
had
some beers, then walked from there to the show.
Yeah.
And then after we got Paul untangled from that wire, we walked back to the hotel room. I mean, everything was like within a half a mile. It was beautiful.
Remember that story.
But yeah, and then in the wintertime, they basically put the wall up on the stage, and then they turn around, and it's like a 2,500 seat amphitheater.
That's awesome.
So they use the same stage for the indoor and outdoor.
That's awesome.
It's super cool. And the one actually I was looking at was Nathaniel Rateliff.
Okay.
Is playing there, and it's like early August, Neil. I think it might be your birthday.
Really?
The 3rd or 4th. And
fuck,
Denny would go for sure.
I would love to see that. Yeah, Denny. I would love to see that show.
No, it's one of those bands where I've never been a huge fan, but I remember my buddy from work, Davey, was telling me about him, and then I would just hear him on the radio, and all of a sudden it's like I know 8 or 10 songs. Yeah. And it's like the venue was so sweet, you know? Yeah. And he always told me, he's like, oh my God, you go to his shows, it's like such an amazing...
check it out.
Yeah.
Well, you were each... Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Right. Well, you were talking about going to Pearl Jam, right?
Yeah.
Noblesville, Indiana.
See that in Indiana?
Yeah.
Indiana.
Are you going to?
I'm not. No. I don't have plans to go to that show.
No. Yeah, me and John.
All right.
Episode 2. John Doring. We're going to drive down. Actually, we're doing the UD soccer road trip.
Nice.
You know, like when you're going to go play Notre Dame for like a super important game.
Yeah.
You're going to leave the morning of.
Right.
We're going to go to the show, then we're going to leave right after.
Nice. Smart. Real smart.
We're not going to take 15 passenger vans, though, and put our lives in, like,
Christ, the good old days.
Great old days.
Can't believe we made it through.
It is amazing sometimes. So, any shows you got coming up?
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen a couple shows. I'm going to see Black Joe Lewis and the Honey Bears playing the Magic Bag Theater in Ferndale next month. If you guys haven't heard of Black Joe Lewis and the Honey Bears, man, I just highly recommend it.
All right, we're going to say it again.
Black Joe Lewis and the Honey Bears.
Black
Joe Lewis out of Austin, Texas, and he is the reincarnation of James Brown. He's got horn section. It's a blues horns.
Okay.
This guy's amazing, dude. So if you guys haven't heard of him, look him up. I'm going to see Queens at Freedom.
Yep. When is that?
I think Queens is in September or maybe August.
Okay.
I forget. Okay. I'm going to see the Strokes at the Red Rocks in Denver.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God! That's on my bucket list. I've never been to Red Rocks, and me and Emily were looking at it in their schedule of shows, and it's one of those things where I'm like, me and you should just go. Let's go and do it. You know? And then she's like, oh, but what about the kids? So instead we went to Vegas this year.
Okay. Well, nothing wrong with Vegas.
So next year, I'm hoping to get to Red Rocks. But that's cool. I remember seeing the Strokes were playing there. Also, the one I was looking at that I think Mountain Joy was playing there.
Okay.
And Lord Huron was playing there.
Okay.
And both those bands, I don't know a lot by them.
Yeah.
But I saw Mountain Joy with the Lumineers.
Yeah.
And heard, I obviously download whatever. Yeah. Same with
I think Lord Huron.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to Red Rocks. When's that?
Beginning of September.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've got a really good friend that I used to work with. Her name is Jill Jones, and we both just love the Strokes. And she lives in Denver now, and she pinged me a couple weeks ago. She's like, "You got to come for it," and so we're going to.
So have you ever been to Red Rocks?
I saw Wilco there.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was probably amazing.
Yeah, probably 10 years ago I saw Wilco there, and that's one band that I follow over the country. And so, one of your questions is, what's the furthest you ever gone? I think Seattle is probably the furthest I've ever gone to see a show, and I saw Wilco in Seattle. I saw Wolfmother in Seattle. I saw Wilco last summer with my friend Bill Baldwin in Missoula, Montana. But that's one of those bands. Them and the Hip, I think I've seen more than anybody ever live. Yeah.
Well,
go
ahead.
Real quick. Missoula, Montana.
Yeah.
And it was during the winter or summer?
No, dude, it was summer, and they played this amazing outdoor venue, very much like Red Rocks, where you've got the mountains, and it was just like Red Rocks, where it's an amphitheater, and Wilco killed it, and they had Sleater Kinney opened, and Sleater Kinney killed it, and I don't even love Sleater Kinney, but they did an amazing job live. But yeah, so I saw Wilco there, but going back to what we were talking about earlier, I've seen shows all over this country, man, and that's like you guys. I just love live music, man.
Right? Yeah.
No,
that's what we want here.
Yeah.
And Wilco's one of my favorite bands ever.
Yeah.
Which they're kind of based out of Chicago.
Yeah.
And I mentioned before that he used to have the bar called Lounge Acts.
Lounge Acts.
And that was the funny thing. That time where me and Keith went to Chicago and you weren't there, but we were staying in your place.
Yeah.
And the first night we went and hung out at Lounge Acts all night, hoping that Tweety was going to show up and just do one of those random shows you always heard about.
Yeah.
So we just sat there, got hammered.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, tour around, do whatever. And then I'll never forget Sunday. I think our flight was at like 6 o'clock or something. So we got up, we literally walked all of Chicago.
Yeah.
And any bar we'd see, we'd go in and
Great
we'd
town.
hammer a beer down.
Great town.
And by the time we got to that airport, it must have been like 12, 13 beers.
No,
I mean, well, Keith used to hate flying. So I'm like, here, we'll just go. We'll have some beers. We'll just cruise around, we'll enjoy Chicago before,
Keith is
and then we're taking our luggage to every single bar,
That's too funny, man.
And we fly home, and I'm like, how was that flight? He's like, that was the worst thing ever. Being drunk didn't help at all.
No. It's so funny. Keith is great.
It was great.
Love Keith. Love him.
So, wow, Red Rocks, that's sweet.
Yeah.
What are have you ever been to any of the other cool places? People talk about the Gorge or, other festivals, Bonnaroo.
Or, man, I am, back in the day, right, I would do festivals because I was younger and I could tolerate people a little bit better.
Right. I don't know if I could do a festival
I can't do festivals now.
So, but you said back in the day, which ones?
I mean, always Lala, right? Mm-hmm. Horde. I went to Summerfest in Wisconsin. It was a really popular, really popular music festival, which the Hip would play every single year.
Wisconsin?
Yeah, in Milwaukee, yeah.
Wow.
And Summerfest is still going to this day, and that's a really big.
Gosh.
But I never made it down to that one in Tennessee. Is it Bonnaroo? Yeah, never made.
That's one I always wanted to go to because I was more of kind of the hippie, the jam band.
Yeah, which would be fun. That many people.
It's just a lot of people.
It's just a lot of people, and I'm at the age where I want to be front and center within 10 rows, and I want to see a show. I don't want to be far away anymore.
And I get that. And I'm that way to a certain extent, depending on who it is, what it is.
Of course.
I may want to get super close, but we saw the Pumpkins. It was at Kemba. We stayed in the back, but when it's 5,000 people and you're in the back, you're still right there.
Yeah. It depends on the venue, right?
Right. And me and Paul went to Guns N' Roses at Ford Field, and we were third level, but we were the very first one right on the side of the stage.
So it was okay.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was okay.
I'd rather have that than main floor
in the
other end zone.
Yeah, it's fun to watch from that point of view, right? To see them. Yeah. Great band.
And that was Axl, Slash, and Duff getting back together for the first time.
Great band. What a great band.
I mean, and you know what? His voice sounded good.
Yeah.
You go in expecting whatever, right? He sounded good, but you know what? That was the very first show of that tour. Was at Ford Field, and the reason they did that is Ford Field was the only place that allowed them to have that entire venue for the full week leading up to it.
Yeah.
So they were doing full sound checks that whole week leading up to that show.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, being at Ford Field in that size and everything else, the sound was actually really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't see that being a venue that I would want to go see a show at.
No, and I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. But someone like the Guns N' Roses, you almost have to, right? That's something you have to experience.
And the thing is, I think it was the next year they played then the arena tour. So they were at Little Caesars Arena.
Okay, they played
and
LCA.
Actually, Smashing Pumpkins opened up for them. I'm like, that would have been a sweet show.
Hear about that. That's right. Yeah, I heard about that. And I just remember not wanting to go to LCA.
Right. But that was also because Pumpkins, it's Corgan, Iha, and Chamberlain all together.
Yeah.
So the only one they're missing is Darcy on the bass, which, So, any other shows? I wrote some down here. We talked about Queens of the Stone Age. You're obviously already going to.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones where, I've never been a huge listener, a huge fan, but I always say it. I'm horrible. For having this podcast, I'm the most horrible person with names of songs, albums, everything else, but I know there's one of the...
Cal, you're doing fine. Don't worry about it.
No, but there's one Queens of the Stone Age song that I know I never turn it off the radio.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the best song he ever made.
It's got that guitar part in it.
That's
what I'm talking about.
That's with Grohl on drums, and that's with Ian from Anthrax on bass,
But that's one of those ones where, I would go to. It's at Freedom Hill. I've never been there.
To see, man. I cannot wait to see this show. I got 10th Row Center.
That's
awesome.
Is
one of those shows that I just can't wait to go
so you had sent me some pictures of Jane's Addiction, Perry Farrell. I looked like me to you.
Yeah.
Was that when you
I
were...
was third row at Freedom Hill.
That was Freedom Hill?
It was Jane's with Dinosaur Jr. opening.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Dinosaur Jr.?
Dude, it was crazy. It was so good, man. And such a small venue. And, I mean, he was
Those
right in front of me,
were
dude.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I can't wait to post them after the show.
He's,
oh, man.
I mean, Perry Farrell, I mean, what a talent, man.
Well, that's funny because did you know that
I love it.
the Dinosaur Jr. is playing at Freedom Hill?
Oh, they're playing Freedom Hill again? Yeah, sure.
July 28th.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd go see them again. That's another great 90s band, dude.
Oh, I remember having Dinosaur Jr. CDs.
Yeah,
and then the only time I ever saw Dinosaur Jr. was at Lollapalooza '93.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah.
And then
93.
I think Primus was the headliner, and it was one of those days. It was one of those Michigan. Now this was at Mile and Dragway, so you're not.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
it was just
they did
like
Mile and Dragway.
The sun is beating down on you.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's one of those like 100% humidity, almost 100 degrees, just miserable, and then
hot,
just so hot.
Then all of a sudden, Dinosaur Jr. comes on stage, and all these clouds roll in, the thunder and lightning starts. Dinosaur Jr. hurries up, runs off. They must have played 3 songs, which I was super disappointed because I was excited to see them.
I remember that.
And then after that, they run off. The humans in the crowd are just like at the mercy of the storm because there's literally nowhere to go. Yeah. It's like you're in the infield of a racetrack.
Yeah.
And then, so everything calms down. They bring Alice in Chains out.
What?
Because Dinosaur Jr. in the time they have to keep in, so with the delay, so Junior didn't get to come back out. So Alice in Chains come out and just start fucking killing.
Yeah.
I bet they killed it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I told this before, but that was when Bob Hayes, right? Bullet? He looks over at me and goes, "Isn't Alice in Chains going to get upset that Dinosaur Jr. is playing their songs?"
Oh, my God.
He didn't realize that Dinosaur Jr. didn't come back.
Bob. Oh, boy.
But that was the only time I've ever seen Dinosaur Jr., but Jay Mascis, right?
Jay Mascis, guitar player.
Well, I mean, him on the guitar is something special.
He's unbelievable.
He's got one of those unique voices, too.
Yeah.
And
I think, actually, this Dino Jr., now that I think about it, this show that they're playing, I think Sebadoh is opening, and if you don't know Sebadoh is one of those amazing great punk bands from the 90s, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Sebadoh is playing because the bass player, and I forget his name from Sebadoh, was actually the original bass player in Dinosaur Jr., and that's why those two are touring together, and that's why they're playing Freedom Hill this show.
So is he doing both bands then?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. I'm almost positive that's what I read, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go to that show. We should go.
That'd be a cool one.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've never been to Freedom Hill. I think that'd be a cool show.
Oh, we got to go to Freedom Hill.
If it's not that one, then I think Queens. But
I'll be at Queens.
We'll figure that out. So the other one, Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah.
We talked about this one before numerous times. This was the Horde Fest headliner.
The stalwart.
So did you come by yourself to
I didn't.
Horde Fest?
I came with, I was with Sheila at the time.
Okay.
So we were living in Chicago, and Sheila and I drove in, and we attended with our friends Kevin, Molly, and Donna.
Okay.
And that's when we met up with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we were over like 3 or 4 episodes, we're starting to piece this all together, right? Because even my memory tells me.
This is fun, man.
But we know that the 3 of us were there. We know that we were camping. We know, obviously, Paul, Dario, Lindsay, but Shaq was there. That's what we pieced together last episode. That's awesome. Yeah. And okay, so that's what it was. So you just kind of came down to meet, with everyone for a little bit.
Yep.
It's a festival, whatever.
It's good to see you, John.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Well, we talked about it before. It's like at some point, like one of the workers came on and said, "What's this guy's story? I mean, you got to do something with them." And we're like, what? He's like, "Well, can you get him onto the hill?" So, like, we literally took him off the railing, went across the 3-foot sidewalk, and dumped him on the grass on the hill. Yeah. And they were fine with it.
They were okay.
It's okay.
That's fantastic.
Are you guys going to go to Bare Naked Ladies? I will not be going.
I don't think so.
I will not be going.
No, it's one of those ones I've seen them before. It was fun. It's not even the same lineup anymore because they kicked the dude out for doing coke.
Did they? Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I'm probably not going to see them. you've got an interesting show on here that's not live music, but I got to talk about, man.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay,
so,
all right.
Government Mule I have on the list. Any interest in the Government Mule?
Wouldn't mind seeing.
Okay, so that's funny because I remember you talking about that with Lindsay and Jeff and Government Mule going to that. And he's like, I forget his name, but he's from like the Allman Brothers guitarist.
Okay.
Jam and blah blah blah.
Okay.
Well, me, Emily, and my brother-in-law John, Emily's brother, and I forget who else went to that show, and it was like we went for Avett Brothers. Opened up.
And love the Avett Brothers.
Avett Brothers
are
sweet.
Fucking.
And we go and we're watching. And then Government Mule starts, and we had seats, and it was. Then they started. It was weird because they were doing like a Dark Side of the Moon thing.
Interesting. Okay.
That they were playing. It was weird.
Okay.
But I put that one down.
Never got into Government Mule.
No, I never did either.
Never got into him.
We did see him. But yeah, the last one I put on was something that you asked me about, and it's a comedy show, but it's Anthony Jeselnik.
Yeah.
And it's at the Masonic in late September. One, I find him funny as hell.
Unbelievable.
Two, I've never been to Masonic. To any of the theaters that they have there.
I saw the White Stripes at Masonic. I saw the White Stripes at Masonic.
Nice.
And
I know John did,
it was
too.
amazing.
I know John did,
It was
too.
an amazing show. But
the White Stripes at Masonic?
That's another band I've seen a million times is White Stripes. One of my favorites, man. I saw them in Masonic, and then I saw them open for the Strokes. Actually, the Strokes opened for White Stripes. What's the Shane Park? That's another great venue.
Shane Park.
Shane Park's a great venue.
It's called something now.
Is it something different now?
Is that the Urethra Franklin venue now?
Yes, you're right. Yes, it is. Urethra Franklin.
Is that the one?
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know that they named it. But
it is the Urethra? Okay.
Yeah, but Shane Park.
Not Urethra, but...
Urethra Franklin.
Urethra.
Thanks for clarifying. So Shane, but I saw the Voice Stripes, but Jeselnik, I got to see this show, man. This guy is gold. This guy is gold, man. The dark sense of humor that he has, bro.
It's a dark sense of humor. Nothing's off limits.
Nothing's off limits, and that's the way comedy should be.
Absolutely.
That's the way comedy should be.
And, it's funny because, it's not technically music, but it's still a live show.
I agree. It's a live show.
We went to Tom Segura before.
Segura was great.
And I think we saw that in Cleveland, and then there was another one. We saw Segura down at Motor City, I think, in Detroit. Okay. And then also saw Daniel Tosh.
Oh, yeah, Tosh 2.0,
Right, but he was just doing his normal stand-up. Right, and actually Gerard Carmichael opened up for him.
Wow, that's a great bill.
Right.
That's a great bill.
Both of them were absolutely hilarious.
Those some good
and I happened, actually, I won auction with my Delta miles when I used to travel.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was this Daniel Tosh. It was at the Fox, and you had like the special VIP entrance. Yeah. You were at the loge level, so you had your own little like booth or whatever.
Yeah.
It was super nice, but dude, it was hilarious. And you go to a good comedy show, and I tell you,
it's just like it's a good live show, man.
Well, it's a good live show, and it gives you almost the same experience of being at a concert. It hits you different.
It does hit different.
You come out of a concert, like a live music concert, and like you're like amped up. Like the adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah.
Comedy show, it hits you because like you're hitting on your comedy level.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
But it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Just different, right?
Yeah, for sure. Love it, though.
That's another one. Like, I would definitely go to that probably with you, especially being at Masonic.
I definitely want to go see that show
as well.
I would definitely.
And I kind of put him in the same vein as almost a Daniel Tosh. Almost like that cynical, like darker, touching on some topics that people get a little queasy about.
There's a little hidden anger in there, for sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, Etian, I mean, this kind of brings us to the close here.
Yeah. Hate to see you there.
Thank you.
And, I said this to some of our other guests, and you're definitely one of them that I can see you being on this show 2, 3, 4 more times, because there's so much to talk about.
So much to talk about,
so much history and stuff that we've went through together before. I think stuff that hopefully will hit this summer.
Yeah.
Love the Beastie Boys shirt.
Oh my God, the Beastie Boys shirt's amazing.
Look at that shit. Come on, boys and girls.
One of the best ever, for sure. And that's another. You could spend a whole show on the Beastie Boys.
You saw the Beastie Boys.
Oh my God, several times. Several times.
Well, at the next time.
Amazing. Okay,
for
sure.
That is one of the best. Yeah. It's that punk rock, like you said. When you see them playing their instruments and singing those songs that we all love, nothing hits like that.
Agreed.
All right.
Love what you guys are doing, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, absolutely.
Love you guys.
Awesome. Love you too, man. Awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
You got it.
All right, I appreciate it.